Hello, everybody. It's David Perlmutter from Quantum Listing, and we are very fortunate to be here today with Melissa Alexander and Casey Flannery, the impresarios behind hashtag CRE Chat Live on Twitter, and they are also uh, commercial real estate brokers in their own right. And we are here today to hear their story about how they got started in real estate, how they got to where they are today, and to find out more about CRE Chat Live. Um, Hello, Andrew Bermudez. Nice to see you here too. And I'm also going to introduce Julia Perlmutter, my niece, but also the quantum listing customer success advocate. Uh, and I thought that since Julia is uh, a young woman getting her start out in the commercial real estate business, albeit the technology business, I thought it would be appropriate to turn over the interviewing and MC duties to Julia. So,
Hello.
hello,
Can you
Julia.
guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So, before we get started with everything, maybe, oh, Julia, you know what? I'm going to leave it in your hands. You're in charge now.
Sounds good. All right. So, Melissa and Casey, we have this slide deck that we thought you guys could help us go over so that I know some people online have heard of CRE Chat, some people haven't. So would you guys like to walk us through this little slide deck and kind of show us how we can get involved with CRE Chats and how it started?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right.
You want to get started with the introductions?
Absolutely. And do we have video now, or are we going to show video?
No, we'll cut the video after the slide deck.
Okay, great. Dave and Julia, thank you so much for having us on. So I'm just sitting here reading through the little chat section, cracking up, because in the last picture, I could see a big bottle of rosé in the picture from when we did our first podcast, which I will say, you see the bottle of rosé? Yep, there it is, right there. I think I may save that bottle forever because it was a very momentous occasion, because that was the first time Casey and I, number one, had been together since, I guess, in about a year. Casey and I, we probably talk every day, whether via phone, text, email, whatever. But we were pretty excited to be together that day and filming our first podcast, which the wine helped because we were a little bit nervous. We didn't really know what was going to happen. None of our technology worked. You see a microphone there in the picture. This is just a little behind the scenes, which I think we're going to do a podcast about our podcast and tell everybody all the mess ups we've had and mishaps. But yeah, that microphone in the picture right there is not working. But thank you guys so much for having us. And I know you guys asked us to introduce each other. So I'm actually really excited to introduce Casey because she's absolutely one of my best friends in the industry and just an inspiration to me. And I'm so excited that our paths crossed when they did. And I never would have realized or known what the future held when I met her. Probably, I guess it was like 4.5 years ago when we first met. And I lived in Memphis at the time, and we worked together. And actually, that was Casey's kind of entree into real estate. She was hired into our firm. I actually was one of the first people to interview her. And she was working 3 jobs at the time. She was getting her master's, and I could just see the potential in her. She's just a hard worker, but she's also very tech savvy and just super smart and creative. And so Casey has been in real estate around 4 years, and in brokerage. What, Casey? How many years have you been in brokerage?
I started in 2015, so I just hit my 4-year mark.
Yeah. So, and she's a broker there in Memphis. I believe she's the only female broker in her office, which is pretty stinking cool, if you ask me. She does a lot of work on the landlord side there in Memphis. And obviously, Casey and I founded CRE Chat together about 1.5 years ago. So she's also my partner here at CRE Chat.
Thanks, Melissa. The intro was so great. Thanks so much. So an intro to Melissa Alexander. I know everybody's pretty familiar with us, but like Melissa said, her and I worked together while we were in Memphis, and she was the only female partner at the firm we were at, as well as the only female broker. So usually all the CRE chats and visuals that you see is the talent of Melissa and her marketing backgrounds. But she's been in brokerage for a couple of years now and recently moved to Nashville to start the industrial sector over at her firm with Flannery Commercial in Nashville.
Excellent. Let me tell me what we're looking at here.
Well, this is one of the first visuals that appears when CRE Chat gets started. This was actually Casey's brainchild. I think when our first chat launched, we didn't really have any visuals. We just basically tweeted out questions and hoped people would answer them. But that's the 5-minute countdown to the chat. And basically, right before the chat starts, we do a 5-minute countdown. We try to have a little bit of fun and just ask who's on board and ask a fun question. So that is pretty much when you join a chat, that's the first thing you'll see.
And did you see the next slide now?
Yeah, and Casey, maybe you should explain a little bit about how CRE Chat works, because for those who may not have joined it or maybe watching and want to know, we get this all the time. We're like, how can we participate, or how can we watch the CRE Chat? And we're like, well, you can't really watch it. You can watch a podcast. We do a podcast recap now. But Casey, tell me a little bit about how CRE Chat works.
So CRE Chat, it's a live Twitter conversation. So not live as in video or face-to-face, or you're watching something, but everybody's participating in the conversation by sending tweets. So CRE Chat live, the account on Twitter will send out a question and anybody can answer it. You follow the hashtag as well to see that question pop up. So you just go to the search bar in the top right of Twitter, you type in the hashtag or the pound symbol CRE Chat and click search. So that way it's keeping up with all of the latest tweets that are coming in, and you can continue the conversation, engage with others, answer the questions, and then just make sure you use that hashtag CRE Chat on Twitter so everybody can see your answer and engage with you as well. And then after the CRE Chats, we usually send out a moment on Twitter as well as a recap talking about the best answers and some of the best responses that we got to our questions.
Yeah, and we have a CRE Chat every month. We're taking this month off. Typically, we'll take a summer month off, but it's usually the third or fourth Thursday. It's towards the end of the month. And we pick a topic that I know the screen you have up here. Raisa was our guest. And this one actually is one of my favorite topics. Obviously, I'm in industrial, but we pick a topic. This one, the trend CRE Chats are really cool because we're basically saying these are the trends for this type of real estate that we are seeing, and here's what's going to happen in the future. And they're pretty much spot on. And the reason that is because we have such a great, a large amount of thought leaders that participate in the chats. I mean, it's not just us talking. We obviously have a co-host or a guest host that hops on board and helps lead the conversation, but everybody has a voice on the chat. You know, you just basically respond to the tweet and you answer the questions. So these are always really good because we don't, and it's not limited to brokers. We have, researchers, marketers, we have pretty much anybody who's involved in the industry on the chat. So we get a lot of great, well-rounded responses.
And you guys, so if I want to tune in, but I can't get there right on time, I can still participate even after it's over, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because we get a lot of response. It's funny, Casey and I, we get a lot of notifications during the chat, and then it seems like The chat's only an hour long. It's usually maybe 6 or 7 questions, probably one every 10 minutes or so. And it's interesting because, you know, the people who are used to participating in the chats, they love them so much, and sometimes people can't make the time. Typically, it's on a Thursday, and it's at 7:30 Central. So depending on what time zone you're in, sometimes it's difficult to make. So a lot of people will log on afterward, and it's so easy to kind of track the chat because you look up the hashtag CRE Chat, and there are all the answers and questions. And a lot of people will jump in afterward, and we'll get responses for days, even weeks after the chat.
Awesome. So the chat, it has evolved, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Thanks to our millennial Casey here.
Well, Melissa, I mean, we've been doing CRE Chat for a year now, and I think you're the only one that remembers how CRE Chat got started.
Oh yeah, because Casey can't remember this. It did involve alcohol, I think, which we typically, you know, typically when we're on a chat, I drink wine. I don't know what Casey does. We're not ever together anymore, but yeah. So before we talk about the podcast, yeah, we can talk about how CRE Chat got started. Casey and I were, and we told this in the Biz Now article, but I guess they thought it was kind of silly to include. But basically, Casey and I, we would get when I lived in Memphis. We were really good friends, really close, and obviously we worked together. We had a nail salon around the corner, and we'd like to get our nails done. I had already kind of decided to move to Nashville. I was no longer working with Casey, but we still connected. And yes, you can find it on iTunes, by the way, Andrew. But we had connected, and we were getting our nails done together, and we were just thinking of a way. What is a way? Yeah, I was leaving my job. I was moving to Nashville, and we had both become pretty active on Twitter, and we were just talking like there's such a robust community here on Twitter. Why is there nothing that brings this community together? There's a lot of people and a lot of good thought leaders. You know, you've got your Barbie Reuters, you got your Duke Longs, you've got your Natalie Wainwrights and people like that who, you know, Coy Davidson, Ken Ashley. I can name a ton of people, but everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be great to have this? You know, we had heard of chats. A lot of people do them in a lot of other industries, and we thought, wouldn't it be great to do something like that, bring everybody together, and also learn from each other and share our knowledge of the industry, because we know a lot of our clients follow us, and we just thought it'd be a great way to not only pull everybody together, but also and network with everybody, but also showcase ourselves and help build our brand and our business, because we're both brokers, and it's all about your personal brand, right? So yeah, basically in between you know, manicures and pedicures and maybe a glass of wine here and there, we figured it out that day. And so Casey, and it has evolved, and Casey's been the one who's really pushed the podcast thing. So I'll let her speak to that.
Yeah, so like I said, and Melissa explained, the CRE Chat, it's been around a year and a half now, and you know, we just continue to get everybody interacting together online. And again, the people always ask, well, how can I listen? How can I tune in? And so now we have a way. We have our CRE Chat Live podcast, which we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. So you can find us there, listen through your phone, listen on your Windows or desktop. And it's just a really new and exciting way to be able to recap our Twitter chats, because not everybody has Twitter, not everybody can participate. So I think it's been really fun and really a learning curve for us to try to figure out how to do this podcasting. So we're actually going to have our new episode is going to be kind of a recap of how this podcasting is going. And we really hope you guys are enjoying it. Let us know any feedback, because we've been getting a lot of great feedback from people. So anything that's going to make this better for you to listen to, please let us know.
All right, so
Awesome. Nice.
let us do a quantum listing webinar first, where we're going to let you guys see us. So Melissa, Casey, Julia, ready when you are.
Yeah, so I just want to start off by thanking Melissa and Casey because they're our first guests to ever go live on a webinar through a video camera. And, you know, they're the pioneers, so we're really excited about it. And if you want to join, you're more than welcome to. It's the next best thing to being in person. So we're gonna.
There's David.
Okay.
There's David.
Where's everybody else?
All right, let's see. Share my game. Oh,
There's Julia.
who's going next?
Oh, we have to click it. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see. I think
Oh, we have to click?
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Melissa, I can send you
This is a social conformity test, by the way.
I did it.
Hey.
All right, so we have definitely have some of these questions already answered, but I think we're just going to go through them. And, you know, repetition is helpful for people's memories. So if we hear something again, well, that's okay. So I think our first question is, how did you guys get into commercial real estate? And were there any mentors that kind of helped you get in? I have a feeling I know who one of Casey's mentors might be.
Yeah, so Melissa's really been there since the beginning of my career, and she was a really big proponent of me getting my license and transitioning into brokerage. And she has also been there for me with any questions I had in regards to how it works, how the pay structure is, and really she's been a great person to follow in her footsteps. Like she said earlier in the chat, she was the first person that interviewed me, and glad you called me in for an interview because I don't think I'd be in commercial real estate if it wasn't for you. But really, she was the only person in my office. She was owner of the company. She ran an entire department. She got her license and was the only female broker in the office. So it was really great to be able to look up to her and kind of be able to relate to her on that level, just because there wasn't really anybody else that looked like me that was in a position where I wanted to go or where I wanted to be.
Nice.
So Melissa, what about you?
It's interesting. We talk about this on CRE Chat. We have one focused on women in CRE once a year around International Women's Day. And typically a woman's path into commercial real estate, into brokerage especially, is not the same as a man's. So mine is similar to Casey's. I was hired I never thought about commercial real estate. I never realized what a great career it could be. But I was in marketing, and I was getting my master's in marketing, and I found out about this job at this, commercial affiliate with Cushman and Memphis, and took the job as their marketing person and just kind of grew with the company, became a partner there. And I decided I really loved the business so much I wanted to become a broker. I did have the mentor, probably my mentor was a man. His name was Wyatt Aiken. He was one of the people who hired me, and he was very well respected and well known in the industry. He was an industrial real estate broker, and he was just a very kind person and very knowledgeable. I know when I started, I was learning the business, which, there's a pretty steep learning curve in this business, as most people will tell you when you get started, because there's no handbook for commercial real estate, right? You just kind of learn from everybody else. So he basically, he gave me 2 white papers, one for office, one for industrial, and I still have them. And they're pretty old because I started.
Melissa, you sent those to me too. I still have them.
Yeah, I send them to people when they get started because they are very helpful. But Wyatt wrote them, and they're very short, but they're very helpful. It's basically my only manual to learning, other than Googling things and learning from other people. But yeah, so I think probably my mentor was Wyatt. He's passed away, but I always have a really fond place in my heart for him.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Who's your mentor, Julia?
My mentor, well, I have quite a few. The first I would say is Kathleen Tully, who was my first job out of college. She was the head of corporate social responsibility at Reebok, where I formerly worked. And she's my mentor because she was not only there for me as a business role model, but she's also been there for me in my personal life when my father passed away. And she kind of held me through that. And I still, go on walks with her regularly and talk about business and life. And I just think really the greatest mentors are the ones who, they get to know you on a business level, but more importantly, a personal level. So yeah, that's mine.
Yeah. Nice.
What about you, David?
Me, well, the first guy who showed me the ropes, actually, I gave him a shout out at my wedding for teaching me how to cold call because I cold called my wife, and that's how I got our first date. So Rich Leroy, I guess, would be the first guy, and my partners in my development company, Howard Menaker and Ken Narva, I think, also had a big impact on me. And I try to learn a little something from everybody I come in contact. Now that I've been involved in commercial real estate technology business, I have a whole new series of mentors, including Andrew Bermudez, who is here with us today. Andrew has been very generous with his time. I think Duke Long, Michael Beckerman, Sarah Malcolm, Linda Day Harrison, Howard Klein. It's incredible what a wonderful community we are in, and how generous people are with their ideas and thoughts and advice. So thank you, Julia, for asking that, because it's always nice to give people the love when they're around to hear it, because you never know when they're not going to be, and it's important to let people know that you care for them.
You bring up a really good point. I mean, a lot of those people you named Casey and I know them too, and we feel like they're our close friends as well. And they've been mentors to us throughout this whole process, and they're always that's what we just have realized is there's a great community of people online, on Twitter, and we're pretty close. And anytime a lot of us travel, so anytime we're in a city, we try to meet each other in person. But that's one of the reasons we started CRE Chats, to bring this community together and to build it and learn from each other.
Yeah, and Jorge Cruz, who's on the webinar with us today as a guest, has been really generous with his time. He spent an hour with us online a few weeks ago and did a wonderful webinar about multifamily and affordable housing. And it was great. I mean, it's incredible the way people are willing to give of themselves and share their knowledge. And that's how we all get better at what we do. So thank you.
All right. So the next question we kind of already covered is, how did CRE Chat form and how has it evolved? So do you want to just take us through that one more time, just in case anyone missed it?
Yeah. Well, CRE Chat, we were just kind of talking about a way to bring everybody online together. Realize not everybody is on Twitter. So now it has evolved into a podcast, little mini series videos, articles to recap the CRE Chat, discussions among each other online. And I don't really know what else we can add other than video, articles, moments on Twitter. So if anybody has any suggestions, we're open to it. And the podcast is something that we are still very, very new at and still trying to figure out. And it's been really exciting for us to figure it out too, and get the advice from y'all and implement that.
Well, when you listen to them, I know it feels to you like it's new, but it doesn't feel that way when you're listening to them. It feels like every other podcast I've listened to. So you guys should feel good about that going forward. And I suggest everyone on the call to listen to them. Who was that?
I have a question for you, Julia.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I have a funny question. Okay, what about the accents? Do they drive you crazy, the Southern accents?
No, I love them. One of my friends, when I studied abroad in Scotland, ironically, it was from, she went to school in Tennessee. And I would find myself, like, when I talked to her, like, not in an insulting way, but like I would like mimic her because I wanted to like sound like it, but I would do it unintentionally. And then afterwards, I would be like, wait, I just said y'all. Like, I'm from Boston. How did I say that? But yeah.
It's funny, Melissa and I, we had a coworker who was from New Jersey. And she lived in Tennessee for 3 or 4 years. And when she moved back up to New Jersey, she was like, you guys, my friends think I'm like a Southerner now because I say y'all in every sentence.
It's so catchy.
Yeah, I'm concerned that regional accents are going to go away because of cable television. I think everybody's going to have like one boring accent. Everybody's going to sound like me. Yeah. It's like
so you guys went through the rules for tweeting during the CRE chat, right? So the first one was always use the hashtag. And then I know there was a second one. I don't think we already talked about it. I think I read it in the Biz Now article to avoid talking about the P word.
Yeah, politics. Yeah. So that's something we just personally stay away from it. I know some people engage in conversations around politics, and politics affect our business. You can talk about politics, but I would say stay away from giving your opinion on and who you like, who you dislike. And a lot of times, if you're on Twitter, even if you like a tweet, it goes out to your audience. So you just need to be very careful because you don't want, everybody's got different political opinions. You don't want to exclude anybody. Of course, I'll talk politics all day long in private with somebody. Well, it depends on the person, but we can do that offline. But yeah, absolutely stay away from it. You don't want to turn anybody off or exclude anybody. Or pick
CRE
up
chats are a safe zone.
Julia, I thought the second rule you're talking about is always have a glass of wine in hand.
Oh, that's the third rule.
But I'm just saying, like, this is, I'm drinking water right now, and I saw that bottle of rosé, and I was thinking, oh yeah. So it's like, 2 something in the afternoon here, and we've got a bunch of RPs to get out, and I thought, dang, I wish I had a glass of wine right now. It just feels so comfortable to be doing that and being on video at the same time.
it's like the Real Housewives or something.
The
real estate brokers.
Yeah, the real Kathy Lee and Hoda. You know how they always have one. Yeah, I mean that's basically. But oh well, not today. Have to work.
That'll be the next webinar we can have at like 6 p.m. Eastern. And we can encourage everyone to join. So
I love it. A happy hour online.
That's I like that idea. Wow, that will be huge.
Everyone can choose their drink of choice: water, wine, anything, coffee,
whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I think you guys talked about this a little bit, but what is your guys' favorite takeaway so far from the CRE chats?
I mean, every one of them is so interesting and so fun. I don't think I have a favorite. I think Melissa says, this was my favorite Twitter chat, but I think she says that to every single one of them.
I say it every time. You're right, Kate. Totally call me out.
But I mean, they're all great. We have different people interacting on each one. So it's great to read all the different responses and all the different topics too. I mean, I don't think you can really compare each month's chat because the topic's different. You have different people who participate, different responses. Some people booze it more than others, and then the GIFs start flying everywhere. But I think that I just like the camaraderie among the Twitter community and being able to talk to everybody at once is really fun for me on the CRE chats, and then and seeing it evolve into a podcast and the support from the online community and other people who listen has been the best part for me.
Yeah. Okay. Melissa?
Casey's right. Whatever. My favorite Twitter chat is the Twitter chat at the moment. So I was going to say the summertime slump one was the last one we had in June was really fun. It was just Casey and I that month. And well, for me, I felt like, because I was actually in a summertime slump, right? So, so when Casey came up with the idea, I said, oh, yes, this would be great. And I realized that I'm not the only one who deals with slow periods in commercial real estate. So it was very encouraging to hear from other very well-known and successful brokers that everybody deals somewhat with the same thing, and this is how they handle the situation, whether it be being slow or just taking time off for vacation, which is also important because a lot of times we forget that, you know, we're in a 24/7 business, and you know, what's great about it is that, yeah, we can leave and anytime during the day, you know, we don't have to be here 9 to 5 at our desk, which is what I love about this business. But the downside of that is you have, you know, sometimes you feel like you always have to be on, always be working. So it was great to hear from other people say, you know, it's important to take that time for yourself, take a break, take a vacation. So that was probably my favorite one. But again, that also just the International Women's Day ones are always very encouraging. You know, it seems like we've done 2 so far, and before we had them, we didn't hear a lot of conversation online about women in CRE. So one thing Casey and I feel very passionate about is the chats are helping to further the conversation and advance women in real estate just by talking about it and showing that it's important to have diversity within on your real estate team, on your brokerage team, and the benefit of what women bring to the table.
Awesome. Yeah, I really liked your guys' topic about vacation guilt. I thought that was so important, especially for people my age, to learn early on. And it reminded me of, like, if you're on a sports team and you get injured, and then while you're on the DL, if you go running every single day, you're doing a disservice to your other team members when you come back and you're not refreshed. So I really like that.
It's a good analogy.
Thank you. So, David, I think this was your question, so I'll let you.
Well, what impact do you think CRE Chat is having on the industry?
Actually, that was Melissa's question, but we'll go with it.
That's Melissa's question. But I got to ask
I think yours was.
Yes, it's.
Don't give it
away. Don't give it away.
There's a surprise question. Oh, great.
No, it's not.
Well, you know, kind of mentioned it. We do think that it's helping to advance women. I guess I kind of got ahead of myself, but yeah, CRE Chats definitely are helping to advance women in the industry. And Casey and I talk about this a lot because women, when Casey and I first got on Twitter, we got a lot of flack about, why are you spending so much time on social media? Because it seems like a lot of the old school kind of brokers, they have the same way that they network, the same way that they build business, and all that's important. But because of social media, there's a kind of a new dimension you can add to your business development. And so we think we are helping. The industry is always kind of lags in technology, as you know. You guys are in CRE Tech, you know this. So we think it's also helping take that industry and show people the benefit of a new way of networking, of adding this dimension of networking. And Casey can speak more to this, but also show that, hey, women have a lot to add. I mean, this is 2 women who started this CRE Chat, right? So don't discount the women in the industry, and make sure you, and also millennials. You know, we also think it's advancing the next generation and helping inspire them, because obviously you know, we talk about there's a long learning curve, but there's also, it just takes a lot of time. I've been in this business 13 years now. It takes a lot of time to not only to learn the business, but to build business and establish yourself. So, you know, because of that, we think it's, you know, you have a lot of older brokers that stay in the business a long time, but we think with the chats and with more of the younger generation being online, we're helping to inspire them and show them that they can also help change the business. It doesn't have to, you know, it can evolve. It doesn't have to be the way it always was.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you guys. Oh, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it in a podcast that one of the first things that I was told to do when getting into the business was network. But I was also told that I wasn't ready to meet other brokers in the market, and so I thought to myself, how am I supposed to network if I'm not seen as enough to meet with other brokers in the business. And so that's kind of when I jumped online and realized there was this huge community of commercial real estate people on there, and that I can connect with these like the most successful brokers in their markets. And I mean, the impact of CRE Chat, I think it's huge. I think it's a lot bigger than Melissa and I expected to get, just based on the interactions from everybody, people who have reached out to us wanting to jump on a call, to potential clients, to BizNow, CoStar. Tony Wilbert is always reaching out to us and kind of helped us get a national presence on the CoStar homepage. And that's not something that we ever had in mind when starting this at all.
All right. Yeah, I really appreciated how you guys said too that it's not just for brokers. Because like for me, I'm just starting off in like the technology sector, and I've learned that I have to be really careful not to let like the jargon of the industry discourage me, because it's so easy for me to hear something and think, oh, it's too hard for me to understand. So I really think that the CRE Chats and the podcast kind of help, I won't say dumb it down because it's not dumb, but simplify it. So I really appreciate that as well.
And Julia, the same for me kind of too. Like I'm in my second year of brokerage, and it's just amazing being able to see the other professionals' responses on CRE Chat and their input, and realize, oh, I know this. Oh, this is something I learned. Okay, it's the same thing for me. And just being able to interact with people in other markets who know what they're talking about, and to learn from them online too.
Yeah.
So same for me.
There's nothing wrong with representing yourself as a beginner, because everybody's got to start somewhere. Nobody was born into real estate brokerage. Everybody learns somehow.
Only a select few.
And and you just really, as long as you're honest, and when you don't know the answer to something, you say, I don't know, and I'll get back to you. That's it's life. That's how. Yeah, and you can make mistakes too. I mean, when Melissa, I know you're a parent, and if you don't let your kids make mistakes and learn from them, they are not going to be fully formed human beings. So, yeah, make that mistake. That's okay, but just own it when you make it. Yeah. So you hinted at my secret question, Casey, which was how has CRE Chat impacted your own business? Melissa, do you want to tell us if it's influenced your business?
Yeah. Well, the obvious answer is it's helped me build my personal brand, right? So, and actually, my personal brand involves Casey. I think everybody knows us as Casey and Melissa. So online. So it has done that. It's led to opportunities. Casey talked a little bit about, we have a lot of media connections, and because we are, we're always communicating with them, we're some of the first people they reach out to if they need help with story, or if we call them, they'll definitely answer the phone because we have built these relationships. So I think that's been helpful. Also, just meeting all these brokers all over the country. I do a lot of business all over the country, so I have a lot of connections, and it's helped me. If I need a broker in a certain town, I know who to call because I already have that connection. Yeah. Also, just people. This is one thing we like. It's almost, you want to beat with the dead horse, kind of thing. Is that right? Did I say that right?
I remember that one.
That horse, yeah. I mean, we're trying to not to have any animal cruelty on our podcast, but
this is going to be our podcast recap, because half the time, like when I'm starting to talk and I want to say something, and I'm like, I try to say a phrase, and I'm like, that came out totally wrong, and I can't go back and tell people. So anyway, but one of the things we always say is when people are, so Casey and I being, younger female brokers, and maybe when you're trying to build your business, if you're not online, you really don't exist, because the next generation of clients you're trying to meet are probably going to be millennials. I mean, they're rising up in the workforce, and Julia, what's the first thing a millennial does when they meet somebody?
They Google them.
That's exactly right. So having, thank you for answering that correctly. So
It's not a setup.
the CRE Chat platform really has help us build our business as well. But also, Casey mentioned something else. I'm sorry, I keep talking, so I know Casey wants to talk to you. And Casey mentioned, we have a lot of people reach out to us, so it's enabled us to mentor people from afar. We never turn down a phone call from a young woman or a young broker or somebody looking to get into the industry. So it's really helped us inspire the next generation of brokers and make ourselves accessible to anybody who maybe, because we ourselves know what it's like to not have access to somebody or not have the support we need. So we definitely think it's helped us give back in a way to the real estate community and to the next generation.
Yeah, and there's been people know you're in Nashville, Melissa. People know I'm in Memphis, and I recently got a connection through somebody that was like, hey, do you know any Memphis brokers? And sure enough, the girl in Nashville was like, Casey's in Memphis. So got a little bit of business that way. And like Melissa said, people know us together, Casey and Melissa, but they also know that Memphis, Nashville, definitely know that Melissa is in industrial because her posters are so funny about industrial tours and driving the market and everything that's
running from dogs.
Running from dogs and spiders. Digging in bins. I love seeing all your posts, Melissa, about the kind of the behind the scenes, which is really what social media is good at, kind of a behind the scenes look into what you do. So yeah, there's a lot of times that people have reached out to us and either just to chat or have a requirement in one of our cities.
And it's also, Casey brings up another good point. It gives us a little bit of personality, right? So being online and being able to do the podcast, I mean, obviously people are seeing us now, and in a sense, it helps people get a feel for our personality. A lot of people somewhat think, they know us because they watch us or they communicate with us on the CRE Chat. So it helps people get to know us without actually meeting us in person. So, and Casey and I both have had an experience where we've been in a crowded room of people. I was at being new to Nashville, I don't know everybody in the industry here locally yet. And I had a guy come up to me and he goes, it was a room of like 600 people. And Casey's had the same experience. And he said, you're Melissa, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, weren't you in Birmingham yesterday? I'm like, well, how did you know this? And he said, I follow you. I really enjoy following you on Twitter and the CRE Chats. And he brought up Casey, obviously brought up Casey's name too. But so yeah, it helps people. It gives a personality to us. And it also just shows that it's okay to have personality in this business, that it differentiates us. So it's been positive all around. It's been really good.
Anybody invite you to golf and now that you're on a Twitter celebrity?
Well, I know this is a joke. We don't play golf, but maybe some Top Golf. We'll see.
Yeah, Top Golf, yeah.
I play once a year. I'm an anomaly as a real estate broker not playing golf, but it takes too long.
There's a next generation coming up. None of us play golf, but you know what? Someone did invite me to go paddleboarding with the women's group. It was pretty stinking cool. So
nice.
That's fun. I did that for a team building day once. So it was really fun.
Julia's dog Troy is also an adept paddleboarder.
Oh yeah.
He is. We'll send pictures afterwards.
Okay.
Does anyone else on the call right now have any questions they want to type in the chat box? My friend Emily Connors, she's at her desk, so she cannot talk out loud right now, but she, like me, is recently graduated from college and in her early 20s, starting out in real estate in Denver. So Emily, I know you can't talk, but if you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat box.
Well, I graduated college in 2011, and at that time it was really hard to find a job. I was actually living in Nashville. I went to school right outside of Nashville and lived in Nashville for a few months after I graduated college. and the town was dead. There was nothing going on. It was so crazy to see how much Nashville has grown since I lived there in 2011. But it was hard to find a job, and I know we always talk about how women in commercial real estate always just kind of fall into the job. Well, for me, it's true, and it didn't happen until 3 or 4 years after I graduated college that I got into commercial real estate. And then when I transitioned into brokerage a few years ago, I mean, I'm just so glad that I did it and found something that I enjoy doing, that I love doing, and that I never have a bad day at work.
Do you have to do continuing education in Tennessee for your broker's license?
We do,
Yes.
but it's very residential based. So
Yeah.
it's, I don't know if it's like that in every state, probably most states. The exam we took was pretty much residential. So we do have to do continuing ed. And I know in Memphis, there is a commercial realtors kind of council, and sometimes they'll have like someone come in from CCIM or somebody that's more commercial real estate, related, come in for their continuing ed. But yeah, no, the industry doesn't, it seems like that's what we're missing. We're missing a good kind of, I guess, if you join as a CCIM or, become an SIOR, in CRE has some great CRE, Commercial Real Estate Women, has some great conferences as well. And that's really where we do our learning, but I don't guess we get continuing ed for that. But
Really, that's a shame, because you would think that they would be able to organize accreditation courses there. Maybe you guys can help start that.
yeah. Maybe.
So we do have two questions from the audience. The first is from Emily, and the second is from Andres on our quantum listing team. So Emily's question is, what are your thoughts on how e-commerce will shift the retail market in the future?
Well, since I'm in industrial, I guess I will answer that. But, we have been talking about this for several years now. E-commerce has already been shifting the retail market. What we've seen is kind of this kind of merging of retail and industrial, so to speak, because of the Amazons of the world, and because of everybody jumping online and shopping online. What we always say in the business, you still need retail, you still need a physical storefront. It just may not need to be as large as it once was. We're seeing a lot of downsizing in these big box real retailers that are maybe shrinking their footprints and having a smaller store footprint for people to walk in, but then they can shop online as well. But e-commerce has definitely affected industrial. We've seen just a boom in industrial, where a lot of these warehouses are being used for e-commerce and for what we call e-commerce last mile delivery, which is pretty much what your Amazon Prime is, same day delivery, which is going on, quite a bit this week because of Prime Day or Prime Week. But e-commerce has definitely boosted industrial. It's kind of the darling sector of real estate right now because of the demand, and it's demand in industrial, the rates are going up because of it. Space availability is going down, and even last mile space is pretty much impossible to find right now. So it's interesting. We always say you still need a retail storefront, but we're also seeing a lot of pop-up shops. I went live a few weeks ago. Casey's always inspired me to go live, and so went live on Twitter. I saw the Amazon treasure truck when I was coming out of my bar studio the other day. It was Saturday, and I see them drive around town, but I've never really bought from them. But so went up to the Prime truck, and you can go in my Twitter feed, and I did 2 videos around it, and you can learn kind of how the treasure truck works. But we are seeing that shift in retail with a lot of pop-up shops or special like maybe one-day sales, or something that is a little bit more in the moment, and basically you have to buy it now. It's not going to last more than a day. So just the way people shop is different. It's evolving. And also people want that retail experience. I'm definitely not a retail broker. I don't work in that space. But when you do go into a shop, you do need to make sure that your retail location is creating, we hear this a lot on CRE Chat, is just creating that experiential effect, and people are wanting to go in there, and it's still kind of, you're immersed in the space, but it's also working in conjunction with either someone who maybe want to pick up their phone and shop while they're in the space. So we're seeing a lot of things change because of that, because of technology, even virtual reality. I know IKEA and some other shops are using virtual reality to help you kind of visualize how things will look in your own home. But we're definitely seeing a lot of change in the retail space, mainly shrinking footprints, and that shrinking square footage is actually transferring over to the industrial space.
Melissa, something interesting too that you didn't mention was a lot of like online only stores opening up physical retail stores, right? So Warby Parker now has stores you can go to. Rothy's just announced that they're opening some stores, whereas they just used to be online specifically.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Casey. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, when I started my real estate career, first I was doing office space. Then when the office market crashed in the late 80s, I shifted to retail, which was very comfortable since my father had been a retailer. And I developed shopping centers in the 90s, and kept them filled for a long time. And 10 years ago, we really started selling them off when the opportunity arose, because retail was changing and the shopping centers were going to need redevelopment, which they always need redevelopment. None of my kids wanted to be in the business, so I didn't really want to go out and raise money and then create a burden for them down the road. And now I would say shopping centers and retail is probably maybe 20% of my business, whereas it used to be 80 or 85% of it. I'm doing warehouse deals, I'm doing medical deals, I'm disposing of a lot of banks, and because banks are downsizing, and you can bank on your phone now. They don't need the footprints that they used to need. So retail has always gone through changes. First it was supermarkets going from 25, 30,000 feet to 50 or 60,000 feet. Then it was big box centers when people realized that big stores were a good thing. Then it was lifestyle centers, and now it's big stores aren't such a good thing anymore. So it's a crazy, interesting world to be involved in retail, because it's very dynamic and always changing. Hey, Julie, I can't hear you. There you go.
I went on mute because there's a massive thunderstorm right now. You might have been able to hear it. So there's torrential downpour. But so Andres' question is, I know your obvious market is the new generation of brokers with social media experience, but would you encourage the old school brokers to give it a shot and participate?
Oh, I say absolutely yes. Like Melissa said, you're Googling these people. It's who you're going to be working with. It's if you have a pitch and you're trying to win business, I mean, will they go back and Google you? Will they find you? It'll kind of give you a glimpse into, like Melissa said, the personalities, and everything's based on relationships, right? So that's who you're going to be doing the business with, and what better way to get to know somebody than maybe finding them online. So I know some of the brokers who have been in the business for a long time, they do have those relationships, but I think to pick up new business and really be a part of the trends and new things that are happening, there's nothing you can lose by being online. Try it out, see if you like it, interact with other people. I mean, one of Melissa's biggest mottos is ABL, always be learning. So hopefully the brokers who have been in the business for a while continue to do that, and I think social media would be a good way to. I mean, a lot of them are on LinkedIn, what kind of a lot to keep up with on all the social networks, but why not try it, see how you like it, and have a presence on there at least.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're always trying to encourage anybody. I mean, we don't care what the age is. We're encouraging everybody to get online, develop a presence, jump in feet first. Obviously, you know, it's going to take a while to build your followers and to get used to the platforms. But I mean, the business is evolving, and if you're not going to get online, you're going to get left behind. And there, just warning, there is a next generation of brokers, and you know, you may turn around one day and see that someone has picked up your client because they're doing some things a little bit differently. So, I mean, in any business, you have to evolve, right? And we're just talking about retail. Look how much it's evolved in the last 20 years. I mean, our business does evolve, so we can't always do things the same way we've done them in the past. So Lacey and I, we preach that, you know, all the time. We think it's important to be online, and we welcome anybody of any age to get online. And so anybody wants to call us and talk about that, you know, please do. But honestly, just look at the people who are online, and there's a great mix of people online, old and young, male and female, and they are doing really great things online. So I would encourage people just to get online, check it out, even just look up the CRE Chat hashtag and see who's participating, and then go follow those people. That's the first step on Twitter anyhow. You just go follow people. I mean, because honestly, and I know you guys are all, you know, you're on Twitter. Where do you get your breaking news? It's not on the TV. It's not in your inbox waiting for the day's newsletter. I learn about everything on Twitter the minute it happens. So if I hear of something, if I'm following something on Twitter or hashtag, I get that alert the minute somebody pushes it out, a news outlet, and I can shoot it to my client just like that, right? So, I mean, it gives you an advantage. That's one example. So absolutely, everybody should be on there. Don't be scared. It's super easy once you get the hang of it.
Yeah. And you can delete your tweets. You can't edit them, but you can delete them. So.
Yeah, you can delete them. You can.
When are they going to let you edit your tweets? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I don't know. I can't stand it when I misspell something or autocorrect messes something up in my Twitter. But what do you do?
Yeah.
But maybe that would take away from the whole instantaneity of it, because that's like Instagram when they changed it to being able to edit the captions. It changed the way that it works. So
yeah, well, maybe it's a older generation thing, actually being spelled correctly and care about grammar and things like that. But I guess, you know, it just slides off the screen and into the sunset. But it really lives on forever. I still want to be able to spell and use good grammar. Well, anyway,
I agree.
Yeah. Believe it or not, we have been having this wonderful chat for almost an hour now, and I want to say thank you to Melissa and Casey and Julia and Andres for helping put this together today. It really was wonderful. If people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to get in touch with you? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you say it.
Melissa?
You want me to say first? Well, you know, obviously, you can find us on Twitter. What do you call it? My Twitter handle is at MB, as in boy, Alexand. So, or just honestly, just go to google.com and type in our names. We'll pop up.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking, David. I got this wrong on our podcast, on the last podcast recording. I could not remember my username, but you can find me on Twitter at Flann, FLANN, KCCASEY. So, and follow CRE Chat Live on Twitter, and you can also subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. So
we're also on YouTube. So if you want to watch the podcast in video form, you can watch it on YouTube.
Excellent. And you can find it now on crepodcasts.com. So, which is our online directory of podcasts and video channels. Well, this was great. And thank you again for being with us today. For anybody who joined us late, we'll be posting this on YouTube, and you'll be able to find it on quantumlisting.com in the How It Works section under webinars. And maybe we'll even do a little summary of it in the next week as well in blog form. So this is wonderful, and hopefully we can get you to come back and give us an update sometime soon, and maybe a little tutorial on the industrial market one day as well. So
that sounds
like
great.
that
Yeah, or if you ever want to talk about women in CRE, then that's, you know, we'd love to do a webinar on that as well. It's our passion.
Okay.
So.
All right, we're going to put it on the calendar. Andrew Bermudez, who is with us, is going to be doing something on August 14th.
August 14th, yeah.
On how to generate leads online. And so that I'm sure will be great. He is an interesting, dynamic guy. I think next week we'll be talking about some of our new features on Quantum Listing. But there's always something happening, and it's people like you that help make boring me interesting. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for this platform, and thank you for the invitation to talk a little bit about CRE Chat.
Okay, terrific.
Absolutely.
Thanks again. Have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, y'all.